Fostering connection through vulnerability, the People Pleaser podcast validates struggles, celebrates growth, and inspires positive change. Together, let's embrace authenticity, challenge patterns, and evolve with compassion. Hello, everyone. It's Corie, and you're listening to the People Pleaser podcast. Welcome back to another episode. I'm so happy to be here. I've been getting into the groove a little bit more these days and feeling some creative spark. And on that note, what did you think of the new intro? I don't think there was anything wrong with my previous intro. Actually, I've had 2 previous intros now, but I wanted to pump it up a little bit. I wanted to bring in the energy. I wanted to bring in the motivation, the confidence, because ultimately that is what I'm trying to achieve with this podcast, is peeling back the layers in our own self-discovery and trying to get clearer on who we are, who we want to be, where we want to go, what we can do with this precious time together. So that probably is a lot of meaning to put into an intro, but I think it's also just important to start with a bang and, start on a high note. I wanted to bring you into a little bit of people pleasing that has happened this week. And this time the people pleasing, it was relatively internal. I will start with that. And it had to do with getting my hair cut. I know I'm not alone when, you get your hair cut and you got what you asked for, but there is that initial feeling of shock and oh my God, do I like it? And as a people pleaser, a big consideration is making sure the stylist, the hairdresser, feels good about the work they've done. And so yesterday I was navigating a few different feelings when my haircut was done. First of all, I did love it. It was exactly what I wanted. But then there was the initial I kind of want to spend some time alone with my hair to style it the way I want to. I kind of want to flatten it a little bit. I kind of want to mess it up. But I also wanted to tell her how much I loved it. But in that moment, I was like, do I love it? I think I love it. I love it, but I want to change it. And so I walked away feeling I hope she felt like I loved it. And, it was a relatively big transformation. I don't even know how many inches we cut off, maybe 6, maybe 8. I don't even know. A lot of hair. I went from having very long hair to now chin length hair. So yeah. And I think mostly too, it's about normalizing that shock and that moment of whoa, who am I? What am I looking at? What does this all mean? And I have been known to put a whole lot of meaning into things that maybe aren't that meaningful, but it's my head. It's my face. And, this does bring me into today's topic, which is people pleasing and body image. And I'm going to shy away a little bit from the people pleasing as we know it and move more into the people pleasing that is more societal, seeking that societal acceptance. And I'm going to take it even further, finding that self-acceptance. I have struggled with my body image my entire life. I have very early memories of looking at my body, comparing myself to others, and feeling in so many different ways I didn't fit the quote unquote mold. And when I am talking about body image today, I'm not just talking about weight. I think that has been and continues to be a really big conversation, and there's certainly a lot of awareness around body image, body positivity, unpacking fat phobia, diet culture. I could go on and on and on. There's a lot that a lot of the conversations are happening about weight. And I am going to talk about body image and how it relates to weight. But there are other aspects of body image that I'm realizing have played a really big part in my relationship with myself and my relationship with my body. When I talk about early memories, one of my earliest memories, okay, my first, this isn't even a memory, but this is sort of a running joke in my family, is that I was a chubby baby, as I think most of us were. And we love a chubby baby. We love the rolls. We love just like getting in there and smooching their chubby little cheeks. Like that is so beautiful. And it's beautiful that our society loves a chubby baby. However, when I was a chubby baby, the stories that have been told and the jokes that have been made, I was coined the baby that ate Nanaimo. Now, Nanaimo is a town. It's where I was living at the time. And like, the more I think about it, the more messed up that truly is. Like, you are calling a baby the baby that ate a city, like to basically depict like that's how fat I was. Like that was meant to be a joke. And I'm not going to like even humor it for a moment and allow myself to get offended. Like we're over that. We're past that. But it really does speak to the early narratives. Like just let the chubby baby be a chubby baby in peace, you know? And even beyond that, like we have photos of my brother holding me when I was a baby. And like there have been comments made like, oh, like you're crushing him. Like he's 7 years older than me. And there's these pictures where I'm like a chubby baby and he's just like a normal, whatever size 7-year-old boy. And I mean, truthfully, the pictures are funny because I'm like just this like big ball of baby joy. And yeah, like just the comments that are made, even though they're meant to be playful and full of humor, it's like we do need to be careful with the language we're using and the labels that we're placing on someone. Me being just that healthy, happy baby that I was, there was a bit of a inside joke, like about how roly-poly I was. My second early memory, is I couldn't have been older than 10. I might have even been 8 or 9. And my best friend at the time was like a classic, like thin girl. Like she came from a family of like very similar body size. They were all like quite thin, quite athletic. And I remember that it was at that age that I really began to compare myself to others. And when I had this like classically thin best friend, and I was more of like a muscular build, a bit stockier than her, I remember making some kind of comment to her mom, like just about like comparing myself to that friend. And her mom kind of validated my concerns and called me big boned. And I know that language used to be pretty common, and that was used to describe like a certain body size. But what was so frustrating to me is that there was nothing I could do about it. Like I just had to accept that you're big boned and that puts you in this other category. That has stayed with me until this day. Like present day, I still see that my body is a certain size, and my body will never be a certain size. And no matter how hard I work or what I put my body through, I will never be Gigi Hadid. I will never be this tall, super slender, super like bird-like person. That is just not the way I'm built. And what sucks is that even though I know that on some level, there is this like inner critic, this inner self-loathing that still is striving for this unattainable goal. And that is not my fault. That is not me consciously deciding to just torture myself and belittle myself and be mean to myself. That is just what we are fed. That is what we get to see. And the inner narratives, the inner fat phobia, those self-deprecating thoughts are so deeply embedded in me that I don't really know what life is like without them. And I also need to mention that like I live in a body that is quite socially accepted. You know, there have been comments here and there, but I've had it pretty easy in terms of like being able to shop in like regular stores, like being able to find my size, being able to, fit into certain social molds. And I guess I say that to like own like the privilege that is this like able body, but to B also say it's still not easy. Society is still not throwing me the bone that, that I kind of hope for sometimes. When I was about 19 or 20, I worked at Starbucks, and I remember that when I was working at the till, I would be like facing the customer, and then if they wanted a coffee, like a drip coffee or a tea, I would turn around and my back would be facing them, and I would, walk a few steps forward to get to the urns and the hot water. And so my back was to them, and they kind of had like a full view of my body. And I remember multiple times where men would comment on the size of my calves. And they were always kind of commenting on like, wow, you have big calves. And it went even further for them to ask me like, oh, what do you do to work out? Like, what's your workout plan? And the honest truth is that I've always had muscular calves. Like I have a more muscular build, and I haven't actually had to like work to develop my calf muscles. Like they are just what they are. They've always been that way. But because I was being like put on the spot in this like social setting or this public setting, and the question was being asked to me, I was also in a customer service role. So, like trying to be professional. I would lean into like a lie. I would be like, oh yeah, I bike a lot, or oh yeah, I run. And at that time, I maybe biked once a year. I maybe ran twice a year. Like I was not in any type of like athletic routine or discipline. Like I was really just existing in my body. But I felt like that was the only way I could kind of like justify having big calves. Like I had to make up this elaborate story like, oh yeah, I'm super athletic and I work really hard to be this way. And the truth is like my calves have been one of my biggest insecurities. Like that is when like clothes don't fit me. Like sometimes I have to find like wider leg pants or stretchy pants because like skinny jeans just don't give me the look I'm wanting, and they also aren't comfortable. So like it's not that that's a like weight thing, but it is just like the shape of my body and the build of my body. And it's something that in previous years I've like honest to God thought like, is there a surgery where I can like cut a section of my calf out? Like that's so sad to think about. Like, and I mean, people get to do whatever they want with their bodies. I'm not here to take any type of like moral high ground on this. Like I truly could have probably looked into that and whatever, if that's what I wanted and that's what I thought was going to make me happy, like I get to make that decision. But to think that like I've created such a narrative based on like how I'm looking at my body compared to like how I think the world is looking at my body, and the way the world looks at my body has become how I look at my body. And like that sort of collective, very invisible perspective has been like rules that I live by. Like I don't fit the mold. I want to fit the mold. So what can I do to like fit the mold? What do I need to do to change my body? Aside from like, yeah, body like shape, I have had other experiences with my body not being the way I want it to be. Another example are my teeth. I grew up with like a very crowded mouth. So my incisors, is that what they're called? Incisors? Canine, like the canines, I think. Anyways, the pointy ones on the side. My adult canines grew over top of my baby ones, like before they were even wiggly. So they were kind of like growing up like higher above in my gum line still. And so when they grew fully and my baby teeth finally fell out, they stick out and they've created like a crooked smile, a crooked bite. And this is something that braces could correct. And growing up, like we did not have the finances for braces. That was just like not available to my mom, especially when she was a single mom. And I remember she was like, you know what, we can't afford braces, but take this tongue depressor, like, you know, the big fat popsicle stick, and just while you're watching TV, just press the tongue depressor on your tooth. And if you do this for long enough, you will straighten your bite. You will straighten your smile. Like, I don't know where she got that idea. Mom, I love you, but this is not one of your best ideas. I have a feeling like she heard this from somewhere. But of course that didn't work. A, like that would take years, and B, I wasn't disciplined enough. There's no way I could have actually maintained that. But forever, and even today, even as recent as yesterday, I posted a video on my story and I'm like, oh, my teeth look so bad in that video. Like I'm just embarrassed by them because they're not like perfectly straight. And I can do something about it, but it's like it's at a great cost. And that is, you know, where I get a little bit in my head around like the money we need to invest to like alter our bodies. And so many people would say like, oh, don't worry about it. Your smile is beautiful. Like you're totally fine. I don't even notice it. But the amount of energy I spend on just like being so self-critical and just wishing, like, I just wish that could be different. If that could be different, like it could give me that space in my mind to not think about it. Not that that's a guarantee. Like that's the other consideration. It's like once you kind of go down that path of like changing things, I have a fear, and I don't know that this is true for everyone. It probably isn't, but I have a fear that's like, oh, okay, now I've changed that. So now this is the area that I'm like now negatively focused on. And oh, now I'm going to change this thing about me. And it could be a slippery slope. And I think we all seen people go down that path of like dramatically altering their bodies, and there doesn't really seem to be an end goal. It seems like we can get really caught up in this trap of like modifying ourselves. And I mean, when I think about my teeth, I do think that that is an area that I would like to look into more. And it does seem to be like, this has been a pretty consistent thing my whole life that could really give me that peace of mind and that confidence, right? Like that loving myself, that being able to freely smile without second guessing it, like not being like, oh, I got to get my good side. And, like that emotional toll has been exhausting, and it has been going on for as long as I can remember. Like, I remember I used to smile with my mouth closed because I was so intimidated or embarrassed of my teeth. And, over the years, I've looked back at those photos, and it's so clear that I'm like it's a fake smile. It's not a genuine smile. My genuine smile is a full open mouth, big ass smile. And so I have kind of made that agreement with myself, like no more fake smiles. You're going to smile, but it does kind of come with that, like, oh, but do I even want to see that picture? Like, yuck kind of feeling. One area of my life, or of my body image, I should say, that I have altered and changed, it has been hugely helpful with my confidence and relationship to my body, has been to get laser hair removal. So I got laser hair removal on my bikini line, and that was as a result of years and years and years and years and years of getting the most brutal razor burn that then led to absolutely terrible and extremely painful ingrown hairs. Like, I'm talking like cystic ingrown hairs that not only were painful, but extremely like enraged and angry and red, that just like wasn't the vibe. And this whole mess of like razor burn and ingrown hairs became like such a source of insecurity for me. I was very embarrassed. I never wanted to wear a bathing suit. I was embarrassed with my intimate partners. Like I just was like so self-conscious, and I didn't know how to get out of this like vicious cycle. It was like nothing seemed to really help. Like, I was using all the ointments and oils, and I tried waxing, and like nothing seemed to help. And so I made the choice to invest in laser hair removal. All my problems are gone. Like, that just seemed like, oh my God, why didn't I think of that sooner? And I'm so glad I did it. Being in a bikini, being in a bathing suit already has enough going on for me. Like, it's already just not a comfortable place to be. But to be able to like remove this one aspect of it was such a game changer. And I highly recommend, if this is a struggle that you also experience, it was like night and day, like truly night and day. I think that I could, but now, because it's been a few years, go back and get like a couple of touch-up laser appointments. But like now that it's been lasered, even the hair that does grow back, there isn't very much, but it comes back like super fine. And I just maintain that with getting waxed every once in a while. So that was like a body modification, or like an alteration, that I feel so good about. And so that does tell me something. Like, if it's something that has been bothering me for enough time, like enough years, maybe it is worth like looking into some solutions. And for me, like, I just keep trying to get like closer and closer to feeling confident in my body. And as a society, I think it's quite unfair that it never does seem like enough. Like, you can do one thing and then it just feels like there's a long list of other things. But this did feel like a win for me. And it's just, now it's not something that I even really think about. It's just completely gone from my mind. So that tells me that it was a good choice. This prevented me from ever wanting to like wear bathing suits, but with my calves and like my muscular legs, like I didn't even feel comfortable wearing shorts or skirts or dresses for so much of my young life. I would wear pants like all summer long. And it's just so sad to think that we've learned that we need to hide ourselves or make ourselves small, not only to like maybe fit in, but to avoid ridicule or avoid comments. That's, I think, where our society still has a lot of work to do, is just around like not commenting on our bodies, like to just leave people alone and to just know that like your one comment is just being added to the pile of like inner comments that are already at play. It's a lot. So this does play into my recent return to the gym. So if you follow me on Instagram, you've been probably seeing my updates that I've been trying to build a routine around exercise and movement. I was very, very hesitant, even fearful to create any type of structure with the gym because I have always used the gym and exercise as punishment, as a way of like torturing my body, trying to like physically alter and change my body to fit like a certain mold. And the reality is that my body, it may change a little bit, but there is, certain limitations to what my body can do. And learning to work with that is my new approach. And so I did actually enlist the help of my brother-in-law. I reached out to him and asked if he would help me put together a workout plan. And I give him so much credit because the first thing he asked me was like what my goals were. And I kind of said, like, I thought I had kind of told him my goal, and that was just to like build a healthier, more consistent routine at the gym, like to actually just get in the door and feel comfortable in the space. And he was like, okay, well, just let me know when you have a bit more, like a few more goals. And at first I was a little bit like taken aback. Like, what do you mean? Like, that is my goal. Like, is that not enough? But I'm so grateful that he gave me that opportunity to reflect because truthfully, the thing that I wanted to say was that I wanted to lose weight. But I also felt so incredibly embarrassed to say that. And if I'm being honest, that isn't actually at the root of what I want to achieve. The root of what I want to achieve is confidence. I want to feel confident, not just at the gym, like that is a piece of it, but in my body. I want to build confidence. And I have to recognize that it's not all going to happen at the gym. Like my confidence is not solely based on what my body looks like. There's so much more that goes into like the mosaic of confidence. But I do know that there are certain things that I would like to improve on. And so because he gave me that opportunity to reflect, I was able to like get a little bit more real with myself. And so I ended up responding with a few goals. And that was to be able to do 10 pistol squats, to be able to do 20 push-ups, to improve my balance. And what else was there? I think I just kind of reiterated that like it's really important for me to build a routine, build some like discipline around prioritizing movement and activity. So I go to the YMCA and it has been such a blessing. I have been to every type of gym. I think I've gone to like every gym that's in my city, and the YMCA has been such a safe space for me because it's so diverse in who goes to the gym. And I've been going at 6 a.m, and you as you get a little more consistent and build a routine, you begin to see like, oh, you start seeing the same people. And I've just been so humbled and inspired by the diversity of people that go to this gym. Like there's the classic like bros who are like pumping the iron and with the huge muscles, and there's that. There's like such a wide range of age, and like some of the most inspiring people I see there are probably in their like 70s and 80s. And I love seeing that there's such a commitment to like health and vitality and flexibility and injury prevention and, just so many valuable components to like movement and fitness that like I'm just now realizing the importance of like balance and bone density and flexibility and like mobility. It's just, there's so much there. And the more holistic I try to approach the gym and the more clear on my own goals that I am, the more sense it makes for me to be there. And I actually look forward to being there. It's not a punishment. I'm not making myself do things that hurt me for days after or are at a cost of my mental health or even just my physical health. So it has been a journey. I am not here to say that like I don't still have those moments of like looking in the gym and wishing I was looking back at something different. Like there are still those moments, but for the most part, it's been a really positive experience of just like going, showing up, making that commitment to myself, staying true to my values, following the workout plan that my brother-in-law has made for me that is like based on what I've shared with him. And yeah, I've been having a real win with that. And there's actually also like the sort of natural consequence or like the outcome is that I also am just feeling better in my body as a result. Like it's almost like that's not what I'm focusing on, but then I get rewarded with that for showing up. So this isn't like a pro gym podcast. Like I know that for so many people, the gym is not a safe space. It doesn't feel good. But there's so many different things you could kind of take away from this, whether it's like to do with fitness or just finding that routine, finding that activity, finding that thing you do for you. I was recently listening to the Giggly Squad podcast, which, I mean, if you're not listening, do yourself a favor and listen. It's so good. Shout out to my fellow gigglers. I know that a few of you have come forward when I've made some comments on Instagram. But they made such a good point in that, like, I know that body image affects all of us, but I think, like, for the most part, women kind of take the cake for having the most societal expectations. And that's not to minimize what men go through. I know there's a whole other experience for men and certain standards that they are expected to uphold. But what the Giggly Squad shared was that, like, men are getting a rebrand, like things that have been like conventionally like kind of criticized or made fun of or been like sources of insecurity for men are getting like a huge rebrand and like overhaul. And so they use the example of like short kings. Like short guys have always kind of had like been getting a little bit of flack, and that there's a whole narrative there. But now they're being rebranded as short kings, as if to like empower them to be like, yeah, you're a short king, like you go king. And they also made the example of like rat boy aesthetic, I think is what it's called, where traditionally like unattractive men are being like rebranded as like rat boy aesthetic. So they're getting this like positive spin on like these less conventionally attractive guys. And their point was that like women deserve this too. And they were like, where are our, like, shout out to the cankle cuties, and like just how like women are picked apart from the very tip, like top hair on their head to like their feet, like, and everything in between has been picked apart. There's like these societal expectations of every inch of our body. And yet like we're not really being given that like rebrand, or society isn't like accepting all of us. And that's not to discount, like, there are amazing like inclusive like body positivity type spaces, but like as a whole, men are like being afforded like so many opportunities to like reclaim these things. And like us women are still, and non-binary folks, trans folks, like it's just not as easy. I guess that's the easiest way to put it, is that it's just not as easy to be in these bodies with these like very critical lenses being like cast down on us. And I wanted to actually bring in reality TV to this because I am guilty of watching reality TV as a bit of a binge, like as a bit of a, I need to turn my brain off and I want to just like watch a silly little show. And I know that's for the most part like why we all watch those types of shows. It's just kind of mindless, it's entertaining, yada, yada, yada. I have learned that watching those shows may be fulfilling a certain need for just like zoning out, but I actually don't leave those shows feeling very good about myself. And I just finished watching the second season of Perfect Match. And don't worry, there's no spoilers here, but I was actually so, I kind of was like looking at it through a bit of a like sociological lens when I was watching it this season. And I mean, basically these are all influencers who already have a platform. Like they already have like been through the like ringer of like fame and LA and Netflix. And, you know, you can see that a lot of them have like already kind of transformed themselves over the years. But the one person that really did catch my attention was Micah. And she was on the, was it the last season or 2 seasons ago of Love is Blind? So she's like still relatively new to like the spotlight. And as far as I know is that she was living in Seattle like up until recently. Like my understanding is that after Perfect Match, she moved to LA. And in watching Perfect Match, and now this show was probably filmed like a year ago. So like, you know, a lot happens in a year, especially when you're in the spotlight. But I found Micah to be like the most kind of real character on the show. And like, okay, still Micah is like a very kind of quote unquote typical body size and shape. But I found her to be like the least like polished. Like there was still parts of her that I was like, oh, that's real. Like I appreciate the realness. And what I noticed the most was her insecurity, actually. And I mean, if I am seeing her as being like slightly less like quote unquote perfect, I can only imagine how she was feeling being on that set, being with like some of these other castmates. But I noticed that like she was always covering her mouth or like putting her hands up to her face. And I saw that as like her being embarrassed about something. And so she was either like covering her teeth or she was like very, not wanting to like her makeup to smudge. And she just always had her hands like all over her face. And I also just noticed like in her behavior, there was like insecurity that was quite palpable, like the way she showed up, the nervous comments she made. Like I actually really related to like the way she kind of would mutter things or make little like comments to cover up her embarrassment or cover up her discomfort. So there was like a certain like, Micah, like I get it. And I felt like a connection, which I know that's like, whatever. She's a Netflix star. Like she doesn't know who I am. That's not what I mean. But there was some relatable parts about Micah that I appreciated. And, you know, the one thing that I've realized is that I will watch these shows and then I'll get a little bit invested in like their stories. And there will be like a period of time after I watch the show where I'm like, what are they up to? And, you know, I'll start following a couple of my favorites on Instagram. And so I did that with Micah. And I mean, this is not to criticize her at all. Like I know that she's in a bubble, she's in a system, like she is being faced with like all of the world's pressures, probably now more than ever, because like her platform has likely exploded. But I've just noticed that she now is like living in LA, doing that LA life, which no shade to LA. Like I love it. Like I'd love to go to LA, but there is like a superficialness to living in LA. Like that, I think, is a pretty fair statement to make. But what has really struck me is that it is my perception that Micah has like now lost a ton of weight. And it's just like it's so impossible to not be affected by the masses, by the societal expectations, by the comparison trap. And, it's not that I think she shouldn't, like she should do whatever she thinks she needs to do. Like that's her prerogative. But it is, in a way, it feels sad that the world has kind of created these expectations. And maybe, here's what I want to make abundantly clear. Maybe she feels fucking badass. Like maybe she feels great. Maybe she is happy. Maybe like this is everything she wanted. So I need to put that on the table. And I hope so. I really do hope so. I just know that like social media and TV and like all of those spaces haven't been recreated to create like safety, acceptance, inclusivity. Like there is still so much pressure on those situations. I also I was very late to the Vanderpump Rules and like saga, and even to this day, I've only watched the first 2 seasons because that's all that's on Netflix. Obviously, that show was filmed in was it 2011 or something? So it's quite comical, like how outdated a lot of it seems when you are watching it now. But I was like, kind of like, oh, that's so nice to see that like Sheena's like growing her bangs out and like they're all wearing these like really like terrible outfits, and like their eye makeup is just like so over the top. And maybe that was the look back then. Like it's hard for me to kind of put myself back there fully, but what I found so fascinating is that I now, I've only watched those first 2 seasons. And again, I was like, oh, what are these people up to? And I started to look up some of these Vanderpump people. And now they've been like famous for like over a decade. And some of these people are like unrecognizable. Like they have transformed physically so much that it's just like, it's quite fascinating. And it's, quite frankly, pretty intimidating. And it just, you can see the industry just like churning out these like, these skinny, these airbrushed, these big boobed women, and, these men that are just like chiseled. And it's just like, wow, like this is what so many of us are like consuming and looking at. And it's just a lot. And with the insecurity I do have, I am not yet bulletproof enough to look at that and be like, ha ha ha, that's silly, and move on. I still am like, whoa, what does that mean for me? And I'm not taking it literally. Like I'm not going out and doing, all these things, but it does seem really important to be able to like right size that expectation and get clear on like my values, my commitments to myself, the life I have, the, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to end this episode and just like talking a little bit about like, okay, what do we do with all this? Because I'm not saying that the way I approach my life is it. Like, I know that I still have a ton of work to do when it comes to self-confidence and loving myself. But I do think there are certain things that like I could continue to do, or, that I would like to do. So a big one for me is like monitoring my intake. Like, what am I consuming? Like, and why am I consuming it? And trying to get clear on like how I'm feeling before I consume it and how I'm feeling after I consume it. So that's mostly relating to like social media, these reality shows, etc. What self-care practices am I offering myself? And I know for me, like a huge one lately has been connecting with friends. So often when I'm connecting with my friends, I'm getting like so much validation, and I'm like learning that like I'm not alone in a lot of these struggles. So many of us are going through these things, and like it's just this like collective like hug, this pat on the back, like we're okay. That shit's crazy. Like let's just keep being the best versions of ourselves, whether that's, in the full spectrum of whatever that means. Like I mentioned with the gym, like I am trying to repurpose or like rebrand my relationship with movement and exercise. So moving my goals more around like injury prevention, routine, working on my balance and my mobility, and really truly like using it as a reward instead of a punishment. And then finally, I think it's about like being honest with what it is about your body or your self-image that you don't love or appreciate. And then what are the things that you do love and appreciate? And to begin getting curious about like the root of where is this like self-loathing and criticism coming for? Like, where did these messages start? Do you even value the people who maybe like cast these messages on you? Or like, is that true for you? Like, do I really resonate with being the baby that ate Nanaimo? No, I have no relationship with that. Like, I don't eat, like, that does not even make sense for me and where I'm at in my life. And also, like, letting yourself off the hook a little bit. Like, this isn't you. Like, honestly, society is so, like, responsible for so many of these narratives. It's the patriarchy. It's capitalism. It's like they want us to bend over backwards to buy the products, to, feed the masses. So like truly right sizing it and remembering like you are just a product, like a cog in the wheel of this like really wild world. And any traction you can make with like living closer to your authenticity, channeling like or tuning into what does actually fill me up, make like when are you your most confident badass self, like for me a lot of the times that's like really random moments where I like make my husband laugh or I help a client out, or like sometimes it's about lifting weights, and sometimes it does happen when I'm on a run where I'm like woohoo, I feel like the endorphins are running and I'm on top of the world. But everything in moderation, because I know that like if I tried to make myself run every day, those endorphins would slowly subside. I wouldn't get that same result. And that's just because running like is something I like, but it's not like my thing. Like that doesn't create consistent fulfillment. That's just one piece of the puzzle. So I hope this was a conversation that felt maybe validating. Hopefully there was some insights. I don't have the solution here, but I do hope that I offered just a little bit of guidance around like different areas that we could nurture a little bit more. So thank you so much for being here, and I'll talk to you soon. Once again, this is Corie with the People Pleaser Podcast. Thank you so much for supporting the podcast. And if you liked what you heard, please consider leaving a 5-star rating and a review on either Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You can find daily content from me on both Instagram and TikTok. Thank you so much for listening, and I will catch you on the next episode.